Particularly now in computer and internet culture, everything is so fast. And the faster things go, the more we feed that part of ourselves, but don't feed the part of ourselves that likes quiet, that can live in quiet, that can live without any kind of stimulation. I don't know.
That was an interview by David Foster Wallace in 2003. We've almost stopped feeding the part of ourselves that likes quiet so much that I think many of us aren't even sure if that part still exists. The quiet parts of our minds are where the ideas start, where the curiosity begins, where we find ourselves. And you probably found this video through the algorithm. But just to clarify, this video isn't to totally tear apart the use of algorithms, though I want to critically analyze our use of algorithms. I want to make us more aware of when we are being fed information and when we are freely choosing to find information. I want to discuss in this video where I source content from and make my own personalized media ecosystem, with some media using algorithms and some not. I want to talk about community building in knowledge sharing, and that makes the entire process totally more enjoyable. I want to talk about the ceremony of diving into our passions and our curiosities. And most importantly, I want to talk about the search for finding our own identities through the use of content. Ideally, we would all be unconsciously competent, but I don't think I'm at this level yet, so I can't fully explain that, and I wouldn't even be making this video if that were the case, if I wasn't aware and was still able to choose how I navigated content and social media. So I found this Substack by Eliza McLam, and I'll link everything in my description box below. I think she sums up the sentiment that I am going for quite well, and I'll read it to you. I am not a total doomer. In many ways, the internet is a true miracle of knowledge sharing, and with even a pinch of rigor, one can unlock decades of resources, talks, books, films, etc. When placed in competition with seamless algorithms, that rigor can be hard to crave. I am not naive enough to suggest that we can all simply focus on changing the world, but I am optimistic enough to hope that we might consider it. But before continuing with this video, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Brilliant. And as always, I want to be an advocate for always thinking and using the mind, exercising the mind, and I think that's where Brilliant can also help. Brilliant helps you become a better thinker and problem solver with thousands of visuals and interactive lessons in maths, science, programming, data analysis, and AI. All of which I think are super important to learn about and to understand. In particular, I've been taking daily lessons on data analysis to brush up on my critical thinking skills. Brilliant's data courses are a perfect way to start learning data analysis, covering both basics like data visualization to more advanced topics like algorithms. Using real-world data from companies such as Spotify, you'll learn to see trends, pass, and visualize massive data sets and make better informed decisions. Brilliant is an interactive learning app with hands-on problem solving, and all content is created by experts from top institutions. To learn for free on Brilliant, go to brilliant.org/Josephine, scan the QR code on screen, or go to the link in the description below. Brilliant is also giving 20% off annual premium subscriptions, giving you unlimited daily access to everything Brilliant has to offer. We are currently living in a participatory era, where we can actively participate in the media landscape, meaning we can create as well as consume and contribute to the world of content. And creating could look like an essay, it could look like a video, it could look like a painting or some other kind of outcome. But it could also be your own media ecosystem, and that's what I want to also talk about today. A media ecosystem is a curation of media you choose to engage with that can cross-reference one another. And this could turn into outcomes like forming an essay from using the media ecosystem. But I think that research in and of itself is a very important act. It's where we find ourselves. What are we interested in? What piques our curiosities? Who are we in relation to what the world has to offer? So, to be clear, a media ecosystem can act as a sort of media source dump. So, it's not necessarily the outcomes and the articles, but it might be the actual sources that we choose to pick our articles from. And I want to go through some content and sources I choose to use in my media ecosystem, and that includes books, firstly, which I think is a super obvious one, but it had to be said. So with books, I find that I try not to use the internet to search and find books as much, and I try to do this more in real life. So going to secondhand bookshops, going to charity shops in the UK, and also, I don't do this, but you could go to a library. Just finding books without being shown or pushed books that are the most popular, and actually having your own thoughts about what kind of book you want to pick up and what truly sparks your interest, and not because it is popular. The next one is art, and I know that a lot of people might find, say, art galleries kind of intimidating, and I do not blame you. They're really often sterile conditions and quite strange places to be. But finding art, even if it is on the internet or in a shop, prints, anything like that, something that speaks to you, is a really great way of getting in touch with what it is you are interested in. What is it that you see in that piece of artwork? And perhaps that reflects kind of a thought you have going on in your mind at that moment. And there might be something that really speaks to you that you want to be around all the time and you're drawn to, and perhaps you can't even figure it out in, I don't know, a few days. Maybe it's something you want to sit on and explore. But I think that art is such a great way of finding something in yourself using a more abstract way of getting there. I also like to engage with actual magazines and not just articles, but there are magazines that are both online and some that are tangible, real magazines. And I am a subscriber to the New Yorker, and I get it sent to me in the post. But also online, I tend to use a website called The White Pube. I don't know if that is in America, but it's definitely in the UK. And I like to use the Paris Review, Real Life magazine, and Momus. And these are just, off the top of my head, these are the most obvious ones that I kind of go back to time and time again. You can subscribe to newsletters, and you can do this via Substack, or if you, like with the White Pube, they have a newsletter, so it gets sent to your email instead, and it's not something that you can just keep scrolling down a feed and find. I used to use Google Scholar, and I don't know if it's still a thing. I haven't used it in a long time, and when I did use it recently, it wasn't working. But I used to just type in something I'm interested in and then type in Google Scholar at the end, and then it would come up with a load of books or articles or essays, things written by scholars that are related to that search that you've put in. Obviously, I also use Substack, and I try to look more at who I'm subscribed to, the subscription feed, as opposed to just going down my feed for you page. And I think that's something that could be said for all social media, going into more who you follow rather than what the algorithm wants to push out to you. Because like with YouTube, who you follow is who you've chosen to be invested in, and not just who the algorithm is trying to push you to be invested in. Though you can find new videos on the For You page, so I'm not saying to totally write it off, but I think it's important to engage with who you actually are subscribed to. Zines and small presses, and this is one of my favourite ones. I've actually been a part of a few zines in my life, and they're super fun to be a part of with a group of artists. I've created around 3 different kind of zines that have been put into small independent bookshops, and we will only print 20 copies of said zine. Small presses as well, such as Small Leaf Press, I think that's what it's called. Again, this is a UK based small press, so I don't know if you'll be able to find it in the US, though I think they do have a website, which I can link below if anyone's interested. But these kind of small presses and small zines can be found in, like I said, independent bookshops, or they can be found in smaller galleries in the gift section. The next is podcasts, and I think, this is kind of an obvious one. And then finally, I have films and documentaries. And I like to try and find my films and documentaries by either Googling actually like an artist I'm interested in and then typing documentary. And there is one really great documentary I'd highly recommend called Hilma af Klint, Beyond the Visible, and it's about the artist Hilma af Klint, obviously. I think it's important to understand and realize where we're getting our information from, and creating a diverse ecosystem can help us reflect on the validity of our sources. We tie ourselves to information and we latch onto ideas that we think represent us or we agree with. We make it part of our identity. For example, if we hear a belief that we align with, we might attach ourselves to this idea and filter things through this new idea and make it part of ourselves. So making sure we've fully understood where the idea has come from is important if we are choosing to be represented by that idea. In the article by Real Life magazine, which I mentioned in my content, I believe that most of the work on here is now archived, and I don't think it's still a running magazine, but you can have a look on their webpage, which again is all linked below. Isabel Mansouri writes for a piece titled Mirror Your Mind. And I will read you a quote. Just as the apps seek to categorize users, personalize content, and accurately target them with advertising, users seek to categorize their self, interests, and identities and accurately convey their essence in a profile. This model of the self mimics that of the feed, an endless sources content that will keep flowing, generating data, refining, indexing, and articulating identity. Algorithms and engagement metrics act as a feedback mechanism, aiding the user in articulating their self-categorization by perpetually refining new content and evaluating its effectiveness. A level of critical thinking and, as mentioned earlier, a level of conscious competence is vital in these areas. How do we choose to engage with content? And how much of ourselves do we choose to wrap up in algorithmic bows, to be presented to others with algorithmic bows, neat little packages that are digestible? And in the words of the etymology nerd on Substack, who I have mentioned several times, but I love their work, and they write, an algorithm models the world through statistical relationships and attempts to control it through prediction. Any coincidences in the pattern are ignored as expected mathematical anomalies. A human does not have the same understanding of probability. When we see a coincidence, our first instinct is not to write it off as an outlier, but it's to tell a story. And creating stories is how humans communicate and understand the world. Finding a common thread weaved through several of your interests or ideas is the start of your own thinking and of your own creation built upon the ideas of others. And this is something you can use your media ecosystem to do. And this brings me on to the lovely, lovely book by Sean Wilson called Research is Ceremony. And they say, stories go in circles. They don't go in straight lines. And it helps if you listen in circles because there are stories inside, between stories, and finding your way through them is as easy and as hard as finding your way home. Part of finding is getting lost. And when you are lost, you start to open up and listen. And they've quoted this as a person called Tafoya. So I'm not sure if this is their own words or if this is Tafoya's words, but I couldn't find anything on it, but I thought I'd include that in here. And this is something an algorithm misses. It might be useful to use algorithmic platforms as a source, but then use your own mind to find the stories. Find the stories in between the words. Find the connections yourself that are relevant for you. And again, you can do this using a media ecosystem or as I've seen on the internet a lot recently, digital gardening, which can happen through the use of having a media ecosystem. And I'll link a video below by Anna Howard that you've probably already seen, all about digital gardening. For example, where does this random video you watched on TikTok, well, actually, not random, algorithmically pushed onto you video found on TikTok, where does this relate to the small press that you are currently reading? Or how does it relate to something completely seemingly unrelated in your life? And I love this idea of getting lost. We have to be lost in order to find something new, a path not previously trodden. And this is the exciting and self-discovery part of research. And again, this relates to identity, finding where you situate yourself in relation to these ideas, in relation to the various media and stories offered to us via the internet and other sources. Sean Wilson then goes on to say, I think that the thing I most want you to remember is that research is a ceremony, and so is life. Everything that we do shares in the ongoing creation of an idea. There is a communal aspect of research, and I think this is one huge advantage of the internet, and I think we should all use it. This is a global village, like the roots of trees, the wood wide web, as I think is quoted from The Hidden Life of Trees. We can create this shared brain, and in some ways the internet already is that. This shared brain full of varying knowledge from across generations and from across the globe. And I don't think the internet should be wholly led by algorithms in order to do this. An algorithm is a feedback loop and is not refreshing. It's not full of new ideas built upon other ideas. It's just a constant loop of the same ideas. It's self-fulfilling. Sean Wilson believes that knowledge is relational and shared with all beings. It's not just a collection of isolated facts. Facts on their own kind of do nothing, but facts attached to other facts, other ideas, create change and bring about new ideas. Also, this idea of being ceremonial touches on the thought that if research is made a common practice, it's a way of paying attention and developing an enhanced awareness of the world. Where we choose to put our attention is our power. And to finish, I want to end this video on a really powerful quote by David Foster Wallace again. And again, this is sort of an old interview. I don't think David Foster Wallace is alive anymore. And bear in mind that this was written before social media is as it is now. And so this is quite an eerie quote. And they say, at a certain point, we are going to have to build some machinery inside our guts to deal with this. Because the technology is just going to get better and better and better and better. And it's going to get easier and easier and more convenient and more pleasurable to be alone with images on a screen, given to us by people who do not love us but want our money, which is all right in low doses, but if that's the basic main staple of your diet, you're going to die. In a meaningful way, you're going to die. And I love that quote, and I think it speaks about everything I've kind of touched on here. And I really hope that after watching this, you can have some kind of awareness when you're being fed information versus when you're choosing to source and find information yourself, and have a bit more critical thinking when engaging with algorithmic platforms. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you if you've made it this far into the video. I have another video on doom scrolling, which if you were interested in this video might also be of interest to you. And I will see you all again next time.